Hey guys, my name is Faith once again. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm looking super cute today because I'm from taking pictures. And yes, from taking pictures for the gram. But today I'm here to tell you guys a story time. So today's video I'm going to be talking about my journey from Uganda to Canada. It was a very interesting journey for sure. So stay tuned guys and make sure you watch till the end. Disclaimer, when I'm telling stories, I tend to kind of a bit exaggerate, I would say, because that's where my sense of humor comes from, exaggerating and making funny sounds. So if I start making funny sounds, guys, just go with the flow, okay? Okay. So once upon a time, back in Kampala, Uganda, it was the 25th of December 2022 when my flight was scheduled. So it was scheduled at night and was supposed to set off at 11 p.m. right? So it was Christmas Day, and the weekend before, my mom had organized for me like a farewell barbecue party at home. It was a lot of food, a lot of family and friends were there. Some family actually found out that day that I was leaving, during the week for Canada. Then so yeah, I had done a barbecue party, so we also organized like another family event for Christmas, so that I don't feel sad not celebrating Christmas before I left. So that was the idea behind it. So we cooked, there was a lot of food, a lot of fun. And then around like I think 4 p.m. or 5 p.m, I remember we got ready. You guys, I was escorted by 3 vehicles to the airport. You could think they were taking the president's daughter or something, but I was escorted by 3 vehicles to the airport, and it was such a surreal moment for me because first of all, it was my first time traveling out of Uganda, like crossing generally the boundaries of Uganda. It was my first time, and then it was my first time getting on a plane. It was such a surreal moment for me. It was a moment filled with so much emotion, both happiness and sadness. I remember I wailed. When I tell you I wailed, it wasn't crying. I wailed my eyes out. I was so sad but excited at the same time. So yeah, it was such a smooth process at the Entebbe International Airport. They just asked me for my passport, of course, and they asked me for my letter of enrollment from the university that I'm studying in right now. And then they also asked me for, I think they asked me for different documentations. I think there was also yellow fever, all that stuff, So it was smooth process. Then of course we went to that part where you have to undress as if you're going to strip in a club or something. Then they make you almost remove every cloth on your body, including your shoes and socks. Yeah. Then obviously we went into the place where we're waiting to board, and unfortunately for some reason our plane it was delayed. So it was supposed to set off at 11 and ended up setting off at midnight. So my mom had told me she was not going to sleep until I arrived in Canada. So the whole time I was at the Entebbe International Airport, I was still giving her updates as well as my brother. I was giving them both updates, telling them yeah, so this is what we're doing now, we're just waiting for the plane. And then so eventually it reached time to board, and we boarded, and I had a window seat, but unfortunately I couldn't get nice views because it was night time, so the best thing I could see was clouds, and which I couldn't even see them clearly because again it was nighttime, right? So we we set off, and I remember I didn't have anyone sitting next to me, so I had extra space for my legs. So I kind of just slept off because the night before I was supposed to leave, I was too excited to sleep, so I hadn't slept. So I was beat, I was so tired from the cooking, the eating, the partying and everything. So I sort of just slept throughout that flight, and I used KLM Airways, so it was a 9 hours flight from Uganda to Amsterdam. So throughout that whole entire flight, I slept most of the time. I kept sleeping, waking up, that kind of thing. So when we reached Amsterdam, it was morning hours, not morning, but it was daytime hours, but it was raining, and it was just a bit cold, not like extremely cold like Canada, but it was a bit cold. So we reached Amsterdam. Obviously I was super hungry. I was so hungry. I mean, they gave us food on the plane, but you guys who have traveled before, especially long distances, you know that food they serve on the plane. But anyways, so I went to McDonald's at the Schiphol airport. I bought McDonald's, I remember, and then I called my mom, I called my brother. I informed them that now I'm I'm in Amsterdam. I'm just like, you know, waiting for my next flight. So my layover was about 6 hours. It was a long time, you guys. It was such a long time. And I remember, so I had like 2 cases and then a carry-on. So my 2 cases were like checked luggage, and then my carry-on was just a regular backpack. Thank God, because I anyway, let me continue the story. So the whole time, you know, 6 hours, the first few hours, like I kind of walked around the airport to see, you know, it was my first time traveling, my first time being in a foreign land. I just wanted to see what was popping, right? So I walked around the airport or whatever, and then eventually I kind of slept again, but I used my carry-on backpack as my pillow, because that backpack had my whole entire life in it. It had my documents, it had my passport, it had my money, it had everything. So, and my mom had already warned me that, you know, there are some people who like be at the airport and they're thieves, stuff like that, so be careful. So I knew I wanted to sleep, but then I was like, that's the way I sleep. And then one random fella just comes and carries away my backpack. So I used it as my pillow, and then I used my winter jacket that I had traveled with to like cover myself, and I took a pretty good nap. So prior to me traveling all the way from Uganda, I had downloaded the KLM app, right? So also, just to rewind a bit, when I chose to sleep, I slept next to the gate that I was supposed to board from, right? So I literally slept just next to that gate, because I was like, even if I wake up, I'm already at the gate, right? So tell me why I wake up, and it was like about 20 minutes for us to like board, and then I received a notification that my gate had changed. I was like, my gate has changed? How? Where? So I was like, oh my goodness. So the gate that I had changed to was like almost on like the other side of the freaking like airport. I was like, hey, today is the day that my ancestors have started disturbing me. They have arrived to destroy my journey. You guys, when I tell you I ran faster than Usain Bolt at that airport, hey, God, you should have seen me. I was just like running. So everyone, I think, was looking at me like wondering what was wrong, because it was like almost boarding time. I am like on the other side of the airport. Thank God I had walked around the airport, right? And I had kind of almost figured out like the geography of the place. So I was trying to find my gate, but I kind of knew the direction I was going towards, right? So in my process of running, like as if I'm in the Olympics, this lady, you know those people who drive like golf carts at the airport, this lady sees me, and I think she was so perplexed by why I was running around the airport, like, you know, like as if my ancestors were chasing me. So she asked me what was wrong. I thought I was trying to find my gate, and they had changed it very last minute. Then she was like, oh, don't worry about it, I can give you like, you know, drop you off. So I was like, how much is it going to cost? She was like, no, it's free since you're already late. I was like, oh, thank you so much. So God bless that kind lady. She like kind of dropped me off to where my gate was, and I found when people had already like stood up to make the queue where they like check your, you know, boarding pass and whatever, and then you can like proceed to the plane. So I made the line. Then immediately I texted my mother and my brother, and I was like, oh yeah, so now we are boarding and we are going now to Canada. So my point of entry in Canada was Vancouver. That's where we landed, and that's where I got my study permit from. So throughout this whole entire journey from Amsterdam to Vancouver, it was fine in the beginning hours. It was like approximately between 9 and 10 hours, I remember. It was an okay flight. But I think like almost 4 hours into this flight, hey, my ancestors arrived. My ancestors, there was no one ancestor, there were like 5 of them, I think. They started shaking whatever they were shaking. You guys, my stomach started rumbling. Someone would think that I was boiling water in my stomach. My stomach was it was so embarrassing, you guys, because someone would have thought I was like farting or something, and I wasn't even like, my stomach was paining severely. I was like, is it the McDonald's I ate? Maybe I was used to my matoke and my ground nuts from back home. I'm now eating foreign food, and my stomach is like, what is this? My stomach was paining, you guys, and thank God, like where I had sat the seat. So this flight, unfortunately, I didn't get a window seat, which was really sad because it was daytime, so I could have seen the views. But anyways, that's besides the point. I sat next to the lavatory of the plane, like the toilet, right? So I kept going in and out, you could think my final destination was that toilet. This whole entire time of traveling from Uganda, you could think that my final destination was that toilet. Because the way that toilet became my best friend, I kept going in and out of this toilet, and there was a girl who was sitting next to me. I think she was also a student, but I think she was a student. So I think she like kept wondering what's wrong with this African girl. So I was just in, out. My stomach was hurting, I was sleepy. I don't know, for some stupid reason, when I was in Amsterdam, I ended up changing from my like flat shoes to sneakers, and for some reason these sneakers, I don't know what happened, but they weren't fitting me anymore. So they were so tight, they were squeezing me. I removed them. I was like, I will not die with this shoe. I removed them. I even almost left them in the plane and said, like, let me just go barefoot, like at this point, right? So anyways, so this journey goes by. Eventually my stomach stops rumbling, not on all those toilet visits I had, but it eventually stops paining. And then, you know, we arrived safely in Vancouver. And so now the other thing is, coming from home, when we're booking flights, I do not book a connecting flight from Vancouver to Kamloops, because I traveled during the time when there were so many international students traveling. So we thought that it would be such a long process when we reached in Vancouver to get my study permit that I would end up missing the connecting flight. That was the idea me and my family had. So the plan was, when I land in Vancouver, after I get my study permit, then I'll be able to like book a flight to connect me from Vancouver to Kamloops. That was the plan. So when we reached Vancouver, fortunately, there was no queues at the immigration. They didn't even ask me all those questions that I was watching from people's YouTubes. I'll make another video about my experience and my whole process with immigration and applying for universities and applying for the visa. I'll make another, you know, video about that. But for now, it's just for context, for the story, the dramatic story of me like reaching Kamloops, right? So back to the story. So I go in the queue, I go in the line, and I think there were like 2 people in front of me. Very fast, I went in. It was this very beautiful lady. You know, she asked for my passport. She asked for, I think, what else did she asked for my passport and I think the letter of enrollment. And then, you know, they did whatever they did, and then they came out with my study permit, and then they handed it to me, and she's like, welcome to Canada. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. My ancestors tried me with those toilet visits, but shame on them. Anyways, so now I get my study permit. So I get out and I go to the kiosks for WestJet and Air Canada, trying to book a flight from Vancouver to Kamloops. Now, guys, the thing is, I travel during winter time, right? So flights were getting cancelled. Like, there were no flights at all, literally no flights. So I kept bouncing from WestJet to Air Canada, WestJet to Air Canada, WestJet to Air Canada, trying to find a flight I could book that night when I arrived in Vancouver, that night, to take me to Kamloops. So unfortunately, I couldn't get a flight for that night. So I kept, you know, the whole time I was communicating with my brother and my mom. So I told my brother, I failed to find a flight that is going to take me from Vancouver to Kamloops this night. So my brother is like, oh, okay, what of tomorrow? Try and ask them if you can get a flight tomorrow. Again, I kept going, Air Canada, WestJet, Air Canada, WestJet, trying to see if someone is gonna, like, you know, if a seat is gonna pop up for some reason. Again, flights were being cancelled and all that, you know, stuff that happens during winter time, right? So eventually, I thank God that eventually when I went back to WestJet, they told me that someone had cancelled their, I think, seat in the plane, and then it was like a seat had become available. So I told them, when is the plane? They were like, oh, it's taking off around 10 a.m. in the morning. I was like, oh, by all means. So I told my brother paid for it. And then my brother was like, oh, I'm not going to allow you to sleep at the airport, you're probably tired and all that. So he was like, let me get you a hotel. So I'm like, okay, thank you. So he gets me a hotel. So I slept at Holiday Inn hotel, the one that's really close to the airport. And it was, you know, they had our airport shuttle that came and picked us up from the airport and took us to the hotel. And then that shuttle was also supposed to bring us back the next morning to the airport for our flights. So I was so grateful in that moment that, you know, my brother was there for me and managed to book me the hotel and everything. So I went, I spent the night at the hotel. Now, again, I'm hungry, very extremely hungry. So when I reached the hotel, it was already like night time. So when I get into my room, I am like, oh God, I don't have food. I don't even know how to order food, but I saw fridges in the lobby. So let me go and see what's in the fridges. So I go, I mean, I had USD, not card. I had USD. So the whole time I was transacting, like when I was people here will force the tip out of you, let me tell you. They will pull that tip from you by force. So the whole time I had to tip the people who served me at the hotel, and then buy the stuff I was using USD. So so I went, and it was like a vending machine or something, but there was like this thing, it was like chicken pudding. So I made the moment I saw chicken, I was like, yes, chicken, I can eat chicken. I buy the chicken pudding thingy. And then there was this blue drink, guys. Now that I know, when I came to Canada and I've lived here for a while, I know that it's an energy drink. I think it's called Gatorade or something. It's the blue one. So I see this drink, I'm like, this drink is giving, it's looking real cute. And like for back home, you guys who like back home, if you know that Cafe Javas, that Blue Lagoon mojito drink, that is the same exact color this drink had. So me looking at this drink, that is the taste I had in my mind was like, oh, it's gonna slap like that, you know, Blue Lagoon thingy for Cafe Javas. Hey, good. Again, it was just my ancestors tricking me. So I buy this drink and this so-called chicken pudding. I go back to my room. The first thing I do, I open the drink. I took this drink as, no offense, but it felt like poison. It was such a new taste to my mouth. It was such a weird taste. I was like, nah, this is about trying to poison me if I even reach Kamloops. So I didn't drink that thing, I just left it. So now I'm like, okay, if the drink has failed, let me eat the chicken pudding. Hey, Father God, this chicken pudding on its own. Let's just leave it at that. Just know the chicken pudding, I wasted my money. Generally, everything I wasted my money. So I ended up sleeping hungry. But I knew, because when my brother was booking the hotel, he had told me that breakfast was included the next morning. So I knew I was gonna get breakfast the next morning from the hotel. So, you know, I go to bed. Obviously the jet lag, I couldn't really sleep, but I was like, I need to sleep because tomorrow I have another flight to take. And I did not know how far Kamloops was from Vancouver, or say how near it was. It is, sorry, from Vancouver. So you know, the next morning comes by, I get ready, I go downstairs, I looked at the breakfast. That was like, there were so many options of like things I could eat for breakfast. But because I had that chicken pudding experience, I like, let me eat things I've seen before, at least I've heard of before. So I think I ate like toasted bread, and then I think I drank milk tea or something. I don't recall very well, but it was a very light breakfast, but they had so many things going on for their breakfast. So the shuttle comes around, I put my stuff back in the shuttle, then they take me back to the airport. Now, this is way, I don't know. This time, my ancestors, the other time they were 5, this time they came 10. This is where most of the drama happened. So I reached back at the airport, you know, checking my luggage and all that stuff, you know, they take it. So now I have my carry-on. So we go in the area where we are sitting to wait to board. This flight, because again it's winter, it ended up getting delayed for like an hour. So if we're supposed to leave like at midday, we ended up leaving at 1. Not even leaving, boarding at 1. So we eventually bought the plane. Now I forgot to mention, guys, when I was leaving, my mom, because I love pink, my mom decided to buy me these bright 2 pink cases that you could see me from a mile away with my pink cases, right? So we sit on the, first of all, this plane was so tiny. It was like those small planes that carry like around, I would say like around 20 to 25 people. That is how small the plane was, right? So we bought the plane. We are now sitting, so I had a window seat. So we are now sitting in that plane. It's raining, keep in mind it's raining. So I start seeing, like, you know, there was a bigger plane a distance from us. It was a WestJet plane, very big plane. And compared to ours was really tiny. So, you know, I kept seeing them like loading the cargo into that big plane. I was like, okay. So now, so where I was sitting, in this plane, it was kind of close to like the entrance of the plane, like the door of the plane. So the whole time the pilot and the air hostess were having a conversation, I could literally hear word for word what they were saying, right? So now we are sitting, we are waiting for the plane to take off. So I think the people, you know, people here in Canada take their shift seriously. Once the shift has ended, that is it. They would drop everything and move on because the shift has ended, right? So I think in the process of us boarding, we've now sat, the people who, you know, those people who load cargo into the cargo compartments of the plane, I think it was time for a shift change. Tell me why these people just dropped everything on the tarmac. Like, is it a runway or a tarmac or whatever? They just dropped everything. I said, eh? Now, turns out they had put every passenger on that plane, they had put our luggage on the wrong plane. So they had put our luggage on the big plane instead of our small plane. So they had to like move the cargo from the big plane back to our small plane. That was also something else. As I say, this time my ancestors came in numbers, big numbers. They were really trying me. You guys, when the shift changed, these guys dropped us luggage literally in the middle of the tarmac, because I could see my pink cases from the distance that they were in the middle of the freaking tarmac, unattended to. No one was like attending to our luggage, nothing. So the pilot was also now confused, was like, so who is going to move the cargo and put it in like in the plane? They're like, so the air hostess tells the pilot, like, I think like she told her that there was a shift change and no one was assigned to our plane, because the people who were originally assigned to our plane put our stuff on the wrong plane. So now the shift change, we weren't accounted for, so no one is catering to our luggage. I was like, hey, good. So we sat there, we waited. So the pilot exited the plane and I think tried to like find people to like load the cargo into the plane. So eventually, now we're now going into like 45 minutes from the time we're supposed to take off. We are just sitting there in the plane, relaxing like we're at the beach. So guys, eventually, the pilot finds these 2 guys who like come to load our luggage into the cargo compartment of the plane. Now they load. Thank God my cases were among the first things to go inside that cargo thingy. So they load. After loading, turns out that not all the luggage could fit in the cargo thingy. So they were like, oh, you guys are gonna have to sit with your luggage. I said, eh? Sit with that luggage how? Hey, you know the first thing that came to my mind when they said that? Taxis back home. You know, taxis back home, you will sit with your whole entire life, like your whole entire luggage. You sit with it on your laps. When the man said you're going to sit with your cargo, I was like, hey, thank God my cases are already inside. So I had put my carry-on up in that upper part where you keep your bags. So I was like, let me just remove it to create space for these other guys who had like actual suitcases. So now, keep in mind, it's a plane, it flies in the air, so we have to make sure that the weight balances. So the pilot was like, I'm going to find a way to make sure that the weight is balanced out so that we don't crash. I say crash. That word should not even exist in your vocabulary. Crash where? Are we grown-ups? You're going to crash us? I was like, crash where? Hey, my mind was like, this pilot better not play with us. he better not play with us. What do you mean crash? Anyways, this man now started, I don't know what he was, because he kept going to like the cockpit and then coming out like that, and then he would tell us, okay, maybe move this and this, do this, and I was like, okay, cool. So eventually he manages to, I think, like obtain the balance he needed to take off. So people are now sitting with their cases. Other people had put them like under the EO. It was just chaotic. It was very chaotic, right? So anyways, eventually now we take off, and because again it's winter, the turbulence, I think we're like, because I remember they were like kind of mountains, you could see mountains and I think the river. So I think we're starting to get close to Kamloops. You guys tell me why the plane was vibrating like I was like, eh? In my mind I was like, God, of all times you've decided to call me now, this is the day you've chosen to call me back to heaven. At least you should have given me a sign. That was what was going on in my mind. I was like, hey? So of all ways, God, you had chosen to call me to you. This is the where you had chosen for me to come back to heaven. I was like, today is the day I die. Imagine dying, you don't have Wi-Fi, so your family doesn't even know. You guys, the plane was shaking, like shaking vigorously as if it was twerking. You guys, it was so funny and it was so scary at the same time. So I think because of the snow and the, the bad weather and everything, we couldn't exactly land, because I remember the air hostess told us, because they told us to first of all back for our seats when the turbulence started, like, and then she told us that because of the weather they couldn't land yet. So I think the pilot kept going around until I think he eventually found stability and somehow we landed. When we landed, I was like, hey, thank you Jesus, thank you God that I'm still alive. I love you God, but it's not yet time to see you yet. It's not yet time. So anyways guys, so eventually we land, and first of all the Kamloops airport looks like it was someone's house and then they donated it to the Kamloops City Council to make it an airport. Hey, it's just one random looking airport. Even when you see it, you may not think it's like an airport, right? So eventually we land, I got my bags, and I immediately, the moment my phone like connected to the Wi-Fi, I immediately told my mom and my brother that, guys, I have landed, I am safe, I'm gonna get a cab and go to wherever I was supposed to go. And guys, that is how I survived my journey from Uganda to Kamloops. So yeah, so that was my journey, and I feel like I've even tried to condense most of the information because it was such a tiring journey, first of all, because it was so long. You guys, home is so far. It's like all the way from the east coming all the way to the west. It was so far. It was such a long journey, but I'm so grateful, first of all, for my family. My mom and my brother were really there for me and made sure that I had the smoothest journey, even if it had its bumps and trials and tribulations. I still landed safely, and here we are today, going 2 years into doing this thing in Canada. So yeah, that is it for today, guys. Thank you for watching my story, thank you for watching my videos, thank you for subscribing to my channel, for always commenting. I always see your comments, I like them, I reply to them. I thank you guys so much for again always taking out the time to watch my videos. I hope this video makes you laugh, I hope you enjoy it, and I'm gonna come again with another video talking about my process, like the whole immigration process that I went through coming to Canada, right from the application to the universities up to where we are now. So once again, my name is Faith. It was lovely talking to you guys again. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye.